we got to a point in 2008 where we really felt we had exhausted most of the available science, and that anything we would do after that is just simply piling more fire on the, wood on the fire, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The question for us was not to prove that this is an issue, because for us it's not an absolute, it's a threshold issue. You talk to intelligence agencies, and what do they tell you? Very seldom do we see a smoking gun, and when we do, there's usually a smoking body next to it. What we have to do is we have to look at information and we go, is it actionable? Is there enough here that presents a threat to us that we need to take it seriously? We need to be proactive and respond in some form or another. And so for us, this has always been a threshold issue. It's always been one of actionable intelligence. And here is where so many people are going to die, are being condemned to death, because the disinformation is saying, you've got to find the smoking gun. You got to find the smoking gun. There is no smoking gun to be found because it has been buried. It's so far beneath all the rabbit holes they build, you'll never dig down far enough to find it. Now, until we're standing out in our yards, seeing two suns in the sky and going, uh-oh, this ain't Kansas, Toto. And so that's the thing. Now, we started doing channeling research. And this was fascinating. I mean, and for me, like I said earlier, I'm a born hard geek, right? And to me, I'm more likely to pray to the God of iPod than anything else. But we started doing channeling because I was studying the Nobel Prize laureates. And many Nobel Prize laureates went that same path. They finally exhausted science, and their quest for information and knowledge took them beyond, and they were willing to go outside the box to experiment. We did that with channeling. We started finding sensitives, and we developed a methodology, a protocol, very simple. One, no one single voice is omnipotent. The minute somebody says, I'm the voice of God, get lost. The second thing was, we prefer trends over specifics. Disinformation operatives always deal in granular specifics when they're deflecting into something. You look at the trends, it transcends whatever they're doing. The third thing was that we used the internal logic of the channeling session as a way to mitigate channel filtering. Channel filtering occurs when the sensitives, you have to understand, someone who's a sensitive and they're receiving this information, their immediate concern is, I'm not the one telling the story, but if I give it the way I'm getting it, somebody's going to go, you need to die, burn you at the stake like a witch. And there's plenty of evidence of that. So channels are very, very skittish about some of what they're seeing. And so you have to mitigate filtering. What we found that the channel sensitives that were most reliable for our purposes were women in their middle-aged, later years with stable lives, preferably that they were in loving relationships. They were the ones that could really do the best for us, but only for a period of time, because we started working with their guides, which would be one of three kinds. They would be incarnated, a spirit that has taken a life form somewhere, or unincarnated, spirits that have never taken a life form, and then extraterrestrial, which would be somewhere else. It's connecting basically the same way they're doing. You're just tapping into the universal consciousness. Okay. Now, the three different types of guides have different voices, and they're very easily to recognize and where their interests are. What we found with the ETs is their message to us is, man, don't make the same mistakes we did. All right. And, go inside yourself. If there's a message from the extraterrestrials, it would be, look, you're not going to evolve as a species until you say, we're not waiting for a Messiah to come. We are our own Messiahs. That's the message from the ETs. That you have to be your own Messiah, or you're going to fail as a species. When we look at the ones that are incarnated, they take a more milder view of that. They're very good in strategy and tactics. There was one incarnated spirit, Serapis Bey, really helped us with disinformation, because this was at a point where I was really feeling like, a punching bag. And the guide brought him in, and it's his thing. He deals with truth taking, and Serapis Bey, actually, you can find him on the internet. It goes back to ancient Egypt. Okay. And what Serapis Bey told me about the disinformation operatives that we were dealing with, and said, this saga is like a book of many chapters, and that the chapter that you're presently in is their chapter, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. They have a free hand to write it any way that they do. But likewise, what they understand full well is that the next chapter is not theirs, and that their chapter is ending. And that what they're trying to do is leapfrog over into the next chapter. And what Serapis Bey said is, no, because it is for people like yourself to write that. People who are in awareness, people who ascend in their consciousness, and work to have a truly peaceful and loving planet, and where we're responsible for our planet. We just don't treat it like a sewer. And so that's the evolutionary shift. And those are the people that are going to do it. And when I think of the people that are going to write the next chapter, I think about the thousands of NGOs that are popping up all over the world, that are going out and helping poor people in ways governments never could, never would, never wanted to. And they're doing it with their own resources and in their own way. And I see that. I see people buying coffee that we call fair trade coffee, where they cut out the middlemen who were enslaving the farmers. The farmers now get a fair price for their coffee, and their kids can go to school and maybe get a little dental work. Hey, that's an idea. And so those are the kinds of people that are going to write the next chapter. And so what we have is a passing of the old and the emergence of the new. For the old, it's not about killing the new message. They understand it very correctly. It is a threshold issue. And to see what they're doing is to look at what's happening right now in the United States with the healthcare debate. We have special interest, insurance companies, pharmaceuticals. They are doing everything they can to kill the legislation for healthcare reform. But it's one of those things where they understand you don't have to go out and take out all of the pro-healthcare reform senators in the Senate. All you need to do is find a handful. And if you can use that handful to block the effort before it will reach a critical mass, then the effort will fail. And that's all they're in the margins right now. They're trying to figure out, how do we manipulate things to prevent a critical mass of consciousness? And that's really what's going on in the world. Really
interesting. And what I want to ask you as well here, and maybe we can begin to round things up on this note as well, there's so many things, obviously, that we haven't had time this time to talk about and discuss in terms of evidence, what's going on, potential time frames and things like this. But since you brought up not only the movie 2012, but overall the phenomena and all that too, is do you expect 2012 to be another non-event? And if so, how would you say the best way would be to prevent 2012 from be another 2003 from your point of view, if you know what I'm saying there?
Well, 2003 was that was really ginned up by one guy who just wanted to sell some books. 2012 is something that the ancients have been talking about, and that we see this convergence that's coming. And we see prophecy, and we see harbinger signs, and everything is consistent. All right? Everything going that way. And think of the world of 2003, and think of the world of 2010. In our biosphere, in our politics and everything, 2010 is a crazier time.
Yeah.
We are seeing in Japan